Today, I'm going to show you how to make handmade fans with volume tweezers. If you want to know my favorite volume tweezers, how to find the sweet spot, and close-up examples of how I make handmade fans, then keep on watching. So the type of tweezer that I typically like to use when I'm doing volume fanning looks something like this. This one is called Pitch Perfect with the micro grip. It's by Untamed Artistry, and why I like it is that it's kind of in between a boot tweezer, but it also has a really thin tip for precise movements. Sometimes I think that the traditional boot tweezer is too thick and bulky for me at the head, and it can get in the way when I'm trying to maneuver in between the lashes. That's why I really appreciate how the tweezer head for this one is a bit slimmer, it's a little bit more extended, and the tip is really precise and sharp. So I do have this tweezer in two different types. One has the micro grip finish on the head while the other one doesn't. The micro grip really helps with more stability when picking up your fans so that the lash fan doesn't move around when you're picking it up, and the other one doesn't have the micro grip, so it's a little bit more slippery when it comes to picking up the fans. The tweezer head is just faded on this one just because I've been filing it down when I get the glue on it. But for the micro grip tweezer, you really want to make sure that you never file down the tweezer. Otherwise, it's going to completely lose its micro grip finish. And if you need to clean the tweezer, you want to make sure that you use a tool bath like this so that it doesn't damage the tweezers. So the most important thing when you're volume fanning is that it's super important to know where the sweet spot is on your tweezer. Every single tweezer has a different sweet spot. Even if you buy the exact same tweezer from the same supplier, it's going to have a different sweet spot. For example, I'm going to show you that two of my different Pitch Perfect tweezers have different sweet spots. And I'm going to show you how you're going to find the sweet spot. You would basically create a large fan like this and pick up. And then the places that the lashes are loose and kind of move around or fall off, that's where the sweet spot ends. So after you find your sweet spot, it kind of indicates that that's exactly where you want the lashes to always be, within that zone. Anything that is outside that zone means that the lashes are not going to pick up properly and they're going to be loose, moving around, and so forth. And again, I'm going to show you one more time with the exact same micro grip tweezer that I showed you with earlier. I'm going to use a very large wide fan and shuffle it around just to see if lashes come off, and when I pick up, those are the lashes that don't move at all. So my tweezer is going to point to exactly where the sweet spot starts and ends. And the sweet spot for this tweezer is quite large, which is really good in a tweezer. And again, with a wide fan, I pick up, and as long as everything is in that sweet spot zone, it's good. Now I'm going to try looking for the sweet spot for this other tweezer. It's the exact same Pitch Perfect tweezer from the same supplier, except I bet you that the sweet spot is going to be different. So I'm just going to pick up here. And you can already see that this sweet spot doesn't go all the way to the inner tip of the tweezer. It did not pick up any of those lashes that were the inner tip. So the sweet spot definitely starts a little bit more towards the middle of the tweezer, and that's where the pickup spot is really strong. I'm going to do the exact same thing again, except with a little bit of a larger fan here. And I'm not going to pick up at the tip because we know that it doesn't pick up there, so I'm going to go a little bit more towards the middle to see if that works. Yes, so that works. That is part of the sweet spot entirely. Where the first lash starts and where the last lash ends, that is part of the sweet spot. And then I'm going to try with an even bigger fan just to see where exactly that sweet spot ends there. Pick up. Okay, so the sweet spot is still quite large, but it's just that it doesn't start all the way to the inner tip of the tweezer. Kind of starts more towards the middle. I'm going to show you one more time with the second Pitch Perfect tweezer to find the sweet spot. So you can make a large fan and try to pick up, but don't actually pick up, and just wiggle around. And you can see that all the lashes and the inner tip is moving around. That's because that is not the sweet spot for you to pick up. So it's only the lashes at the inner tip that's moving around, because as I mentioned earlier, the sweet spot for this particular second Pitch Perfect tweezer is more towards the middle. And when we do the exact same thing here towards the middle, those lashes don't wiggle around. So you know that the sweet spot is in the middle of the tweezer here. So for you to remember exactly where your sweet spot is on your tweezer every single time, you can actually draw a line right there where the sweet spot starts, and then also on the other end where the sweet spot ends. And then that way, every time you pick up and make a fan, you make sure that it's within that marker zone. Now that we have the sweet spot covered, I'm going to show you how to make my lash fans on this strip. What I do is I take some lashes, put it back on the strip, but I leave a little bit of space. I don't go all the way down to the bottom of the strip. You can see that I leave a little bit of space at the bottom. And then I just maneuver the lashes until I find that the lashes are symmetrical. I kind of maneuver closer to the base of the lashes where the strip meets the white, the black meets the white line. And then when I'm lifting, I also make sure to leave a little bit of space from the base, maybe like 1.5 millimeters. And then I would lift it off the strip. I would lift up and towards me at the same time. So there it is. I'm going to do it again to show you. I'm going to take the lashes off, leave a little bit of space at the bottom of the black strip where the black and the gray meets. We want to leave a little bit of space. And again, we're going to maneuver the lashes closer to the base where the black meets the white on the strip. And when it's symmetrical or symmetrical enough, we lift it off the strip. We lift it up and towards your forehead. An important thing to note when you're picking up your lash fan is to make sure that your tweezer is parallel to that lash strip while you're picking up the fan. What this does is it keeps the fan balanced and it makes sure that the fan doesn't fall apart. And when you're picking up the lash fan, it doesn't matter too much if the base of the lash fan comes apart, because when you're dipping in the lash glue, it can easily fix this issue. So what I try to pay more attention to is the symmetry of the actual lashes instead of whether or not the base of the fan is closed or not. For example, in here, even if you had that crisscross base, you can easily fix that base with the dip of the adhesive. Here the same thing happened, and even if it doesn't work the first time with fixing the base, you can go back in, dip a little bit more adhesive, and it should just close up like this. Another thing that you do want to pay attention to when picking up your lash fan is do not pick up too close to the base like this. This doesn't leave a lot of space for the adhesive to be dipped in, and it will eventually lead up to the tweezer. You don't want the lash glue to be on your tweezer. So you do want to leave a little bit of space, at least maybe 1.5 millimeter space between the base and the tweezer, so that there's sufficient space for you to dip your lash glue without it riding up all the way onto your tweezer. Here's another tip for you. So sometimes when I pick up too many lashes and the fan is way too big for that natural lash, but I don't want to waste all of these lashes, I actually go in and I split this into 2 fans instead of 1 large fan. So I would go in and weave in between the lashes and pick up every other lash. And then I would do the same thing and pick up off the strip. And then now I have two smaller lash fans compared to that one large wide fan that I couldn't use. And at any point in your lashing process, if your tweezer doesn't seem like it has the same sweet spot anymore, or it's not really picking up the lash fans like it used to be, it could be because there's some glue residue stuck on your tweezer because glue started riding up onto the fan and onto your tweezer. So the best thing to get is to use a tool bath like this. It's a very gentle way to remove the adhesive from your tweezer without damaging it. So as I mentioned before, do not file it with a nail filer like I used to do. This is definitely the more gentle and non-damaging way for your tweezer. And right after this, your tweezer should be the same as it used to be before. I really hope that this video helped you out with creating volume fans, from where you pick up the lashes, where to place it on the strip, how to create a symmetrical fan, how to place your tweezer when picking up, and how to dip the lash fan. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.